Oh, good afternoon, everyone. We're back on the live stream. It's been a while. Really looking forward to this one. I do this one once a year at the start of the season and then towards the end of the season. Let's just see what makes it look best in regards to today's Ladder Predictor. I mean, that's probably the best, isn't it? And we'll go with this one. Ready? All right, so I'll tell you what, these predictions will probably change going into next week as well, especially with players, form, those type of things. But I'm going to go Manly at home against Melbourne. I think Melbourne's due a loss. Manly battling for the top 8. They won't be happy with their result against the Cowboys, so I'll go Manly by 4 in that one. Knights and the Titans, I will go with Gold Coast. They're currently sitting at the bottom of the NRL ladder. That's not where they want to be. Gold Coast, I think 8's reasonable. I'm not going to go with the Roosters there. I'm going to go with the Penrith Panthers to get a nice victory, probably about 18. The margin makes these videos go for so long, but I'm going to go with the Cronulla Sharks against the Bulldogs. I think they'll be too good for the Bulldogs. Probably by 12 for that one. Cowboys against the Broncos. I'll go the Cowboys at home at this stage. I think the Cowboys are playing some good footy. The Broncos have a few injuries, but they're still playing really well. They played well against the Storm, Parramatta, and South Sydney. Now, I think this has my... Has this got my previous... This has. Let's just refresh to reset it. Sorry. And then I'll... Yeah, that's better. That's much better. I don't know what was happening before. Okay, so we're going to go Manly against the Storm by 4. I wish I had a computer mouse, but I don't. Let's see who's in the chat as well. Let's see who's in the chat. We've got 7 comments. Afternoon, CJ Moxley. Roosters will still make the 8. Let's find out. I'll be at South and Eels on Saturday. I'm not sure if I'll be there yet. We'll wait and see. All right, so we're going to go Manly by 4. We're going to go with the Gold Coast Titans by 8. We're going to go with the Penrith Panthers by 18. That's putting the Roosters well and truly out of the top 8 at this present point. And it puts Manly Sea Eagles back in the top 8. That's why I think it's a must-win game for them against Melbourne. I think it's going to be a great game on Thursday night. Then you've got the Cronulla Sharks. I think they'll beat the Bulldogs. There you go, 12. North Queensland Cowboys by 4. I'm going to go with the Parramatta Eels to defeat the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Bit of a danger game for us, I think. But I think that we played well against the Roosters and can get it right. Latrell Mitchell will probably be back for that one. The Warriors and the Tigers, 16th versus 15th. Interesting game. I'm going to go with the Warriors. They're at home here. I think 12 is a reasonable margin. And the Dragons and the Raiders. The Dragons in 9th. The Raiders in 11th. I'm going to go with the Dragons at this stage just purely because they're at home. Played some great footy against the Bunny. Don't think they'll be as good, but I think the Dragons could win that game. Moving on to round 17, this is the current top 8 that I have. Manly Sea Eagles in 9th and the Rabbitohs in 8th position. And the St. George Illawarra Dragons making their way up the NRL ladder. I'm going to go with the Melbourne Storm to bounce back. I don't think they lose 2 in a row. I think it will be tight. I'll go Melbourne Storm by 8 in that one. Newcastle Knights versus the Rabbitohs. I'm going to go with the Bunnies. I think they can get back in the winner's circle with a decent victory over Newcastle. It's at Newcastle at home. I'll go 10-12. 10-12 for the Rabbitohs. Then you got the Parramatta Eels and Leichhardt Oval against the Tigers. I'm going to go with Parramatta here. They are sitting in 5th position. Move into the top 4 with a victory over the Tigers. I think 12. Once again, reasonable margin. The Broncos and the Dragons, I'm going to go with the Brisbane Broncos here. Should get some of their players back as well. I think they'll probably win quite well at home, to be honest. I'll go Broncos by 24 in that one. And there's only the 4 games there, all those teams having byes. Moving into the next round, let's check the comments. Who's here? G'day. Will you be at South and Eels? Not sure yet. Undecided. Maybe not. We'll see. You've got the Cowboys and the Sharks. Tough game. Tough game, especially being at Townsville as well. I'm going to go the Sharks. I think the Sharks can win that game. I'm going to go the Sharks. I'm going to go the Sharks by 1. Parramatta Eels up against the Warriors. I'll be at this game. I'm going to go with the Eels to beat the Warriors in a tight game. I think it'll be really close. Eels by 8 there. The Roosters and the Dragons at Central Coast Stadium. I will probably not vlog this game just because I want my 150th game to be the Origin for Game 3. So my 149th vlog will be that Leichhardt Oval the week before. So I probably won't vlog Eels and Warriors either, actually, then. I'm going to go with the Dragons here. I think they can stay within the top 8, get into 7th position with a victory over the Roosters, a tight victory. They've done it once this year. I can see them doing it again. Roosters currently sitting in 10th, must win the following week to keep within the top 8. Manly Sea Eagles up against the Newcastle Knights. Being at Manly, I'm going to go with Manly. I think it'll be tight, though. I think Newcastle will push them. Newcastle to keep within 4 there. The Broncos and the Titans, a battle of Queensland. The Titans sitting in 15th position. Broncos sitting in 6th. I'm going to go with the Brisbane Broncos here. I was close to leaning towards the Titans to get some victory, but I just think the Broncos playing too much good footy. The Penrith Panthers and the Tigers at Bankwest Stadium. I'm going to go with the Panthers to win that one, even though it is after Origin. Really interesting game, that one. I will go with the Panthers by 4. I think it'll be tight. You've got the Melbourne Storm and the Canberra Raiders. I'm going to go the Storm to win and probably win well for this one. I'm going to go the Storm by 24 at Amy Park. You've got the Bulldogs and the Rabbitohs. I'll tell you what, I like the Bulldogs here. I do like the Bulldogs here for an upset for the round. They are at Accor Stadium. They play quite well at Accor too. I'm going to put Canterbury to win that game. I'm going to put the Bulldogs to beat the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs have a great record against the Bulldogs, but they're just hitting form at the right time. So I'm going to go the Bulldogs moving from 14th up to 12th. So at the moment, as we go into round 19, is the Panthers, Storm, Cowboys, Eels, Broncos, Sharks, Dragons, and Rabbitohs as my top 8. So let's see what happens next. We've got the Parramatta Eels and the Broncos. Look, I think the Broncos are a really good team this year. Parramatta's had 2 wins back-to-back. I'm going to go the Broncos here, and I'm going to go the Broncos by 2. It'll be a close game. Parramatta at risk of slipping out of the top 4 this round, in my opinion. Dragons and Manly, a really tough game. This game's at Cogra. Oh, man, I'll tell you what, if Dragons win this game, probably pretty much seal that spot in the 8. But I think the Manly Sea Eagles pull off a bit of an upset here. I think the Dragons at home will go in as favourites, but I'm going to go the Sea Eagles to beat the Dragons by 4. The Dragons have a great record against Manly. The Sydney Roosters, they'll help their for and against here against the Knights. I'll go the Roosters by 18. They should be too good. Still not in the top 8 at this moment. The Sydney Roosters are really interesting. Raiders and the Warriors in Canberra. I think the Raiders win, and I think the Raiders win by 12. That's a fair margin. Raiders currently 8 wins and 10 losses. A lot of people think the Raiders can push towards the top 8. Let's wait and see. The Panthers and the Sharks. It's at Penrith. I think it will be tight, but I'll go with the Panthers by 6 to 8 in that one. And then you've got the South Sydney Rabbitohs in 9th up against the Melbourne Storm in 2nd, trying to chase down the Panthers. I will go with the Storm by 10 points there. You've got the Bulldogs and the Titans, 12th versus 15, in an interesting clash there. Good day, Howzers versus Virus videos and Fat Pizza. Love that show. Great show. Next up, we've got the Bulldogs and the Titans. I'm going to go with the Titans here to get an away win away from home, get themselves away from that bottom of the ladder position. Bulldogs coming off a nice win against the Rabbitohs there. And then you've got the Cowboys up against the Tigers at North Queensland. I'm going to go the Cowboys to win. And honestly, I think they probably win that well. So 12 to 14 points in that one. Moving into round 20 as we get into the final 5 rounds of the NRL, our top 4 sees Panthers, Storm, Cowboys, and Broncos. You got the Sea Eagles up against the Roosters. I'm going to go the Roosters to win that and move into 9th position. I think they win in Manly by 8. You got the Warriors and the Storm. This game is at Mount Smart Stadium where the Warriors haven't played in years, and this is one of the only games they play this year, but I think the Storm win. I think the Storm, they won by 60 last time. They'll probably win by about 20, in my opinion. If the Warriors can cover a line of about 26.5, that would be a brave effort. You've got the Parramatta Eels up against the Penrith Panthers. Now, let's have a look at this. So the Panthers, They are 2 wins away from the Melbourne Storm, drop this game, and they could potentially drop that minor premiership, but I think the Panthers will be too good. Parramatta got their win in Penrith. Parramatta have been consistent, and the Panthers have been a much better team this season overall, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with the Penrith Panthers there by 4 points. Next up, you got the Titans and the Raiders, and I like the Raiders here. They haven't gotten a win in a couple of weeks. I like the Raiders to win by 6 to 8 points in a tight one. And you got the Cronulla Sharks and the Rabbitohs. This game is at home for the Sharks. I think the Sharks win, and I think the Sharks could win well, pushing towards that top 4 spot. Now you got the Broncos and the Tigers at Suncorp Stadium on the 30th of July. 4th position versus 16th, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to tip an upset here. I reckon the West Tigers will get it over the Broncos, knock them out of the top 4. I'm going to go the Tigers by 4 in one of the upsets of the year. The Tigers go from 16th position to 14th, knocking off Brisbane. I can't believe I predicted that, but it's going to happen. Newcastle Knights and the Bulldogs. This game is at McDonald Jones Stadium. Just want to have a look at this. So the Tigers, man, I tell you what, I reckon Newcastle win this game. I just have a feeling Newcastle at home on a Sunday afternoon, they'll be a little bit too good for the Bulldogs. I'll go with a 6 to 8 point win. Then you got the Dragons and the Cowboys. Oh man, I want to go the Cowboys, but realistically, the Cowboys have got to drop some games. I'm going to go the Cowboys here. I think the Cowboys can beat the Dragons. I'll go with 12. I think 10 to 12 is a fair margin. No one's commenting about that upset that I predicted between the Brisbane Broncos and the West Tigers. Moving into round 21, we have the Brisbane Broncos up against the Sydney Roosters. Win this game for the Roosters could see them back into the top 8. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. Sydney Roosters move back into 7th with a nice victory over the Broncos by 12 to 16 points. So I'm going to put 18. Actually, I'm going to put 18. I'm going to go the Melbourne Storm, probably put a score on the Titans, in my opinion. I just think at home, I'll go Storm by 30. And then you got the Manly Seagulls up against the Parramatta Eels. Very danger game for the Eels, but I'm going to go with Parramatta to win that game by 8 to 10 points or 6 to 8 points, something like that. And then you got the South Sydney Rabbitohs going up against the New Zealand Warriors. Being at Sunshine Coast makes it kind of neutral for both of these teams, but I think South's coming into the finals will probably have a bit too much firepower. I'll go South by 4 to 6 against the Warriors in that one. And the Warriors are at the bottom of the ladder at this point in the season. Then you got the Raiders going up against the Penrith Panthers. I tell you what, the Penrith Panthers, they've got to drop some games. They've got to lose another game this season. They can't go one loss all season, but I don't think this is the game. I think the Raiders will grind out a battle with the Panthers, but the Panthers get a 6 to 8 point victory at GIO Stadium. Then you see the Cronulla Sharks and the Dragons. The Sharks sitting in 5th position, the Dragons in 10th. Look, I'm going to go with Cronulla here. I think Cronulla move back into the top 4. I think they're too good for the Dragons at home, but I think the Dragons will be fighting towards the 8 come the end of the season. Then this game at Salter Oval between the Cowboys and the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs beat the Cowboys earlier in the season, so it is a rematch, and I think the Cowboys win in a close game. Cowboys are on an absolute roll this season. You got the Tigers and the Knights. This game is at Campbelltown. The Tigers in 15th, the Knights in 12th. I'm going to go with Newcastle here. I think Newcastle can win this game, and I think Newcastle probably pull off a bit of an upset win by winning by quite a large margin, in my opinion. Para can beat the Panthers. They absolutely can. We've seen it this season. No reason not to see it again, but I do worry. Oh, why is it doing this now? There we go. All right. Moving into round at number 22, you've got the Penrith Panthers and the Storm. In Penrith, well, the only team that can seem to challenge the Storm is the Panthers. So I'm going to go with the Storm. I think the Storm win that game. In a 6 to 8 point win. The Penrith Panthers have shown that they can be vulnerable at home against the Parramatta Eel and some other games. I think against the Dragons earlier in the year, I think they were at home and they won the game, but pretty unconvincing for mine. I think Melbourne will want some revenge for what happened at Suncorp. They should be back to pretty much full strength. And then you see the Warriors up against the Bulldogs. I'm going to go the Warriors here. I think the Warriors can beat the Bulldogs at home, moves the Warriors into 13th position, and Canterbury Bulldogs drop to 14th. Next up sees the Parramatta Eel up against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs need to win this game to keep within the top 8. They've been a really strange side this year. Parramatta have 2, but I think Parramatta, being at home, I think they win this game. They're fighting for a top 4 spot. They're pretty much fighting the Sharks and the Broncos for a top 4 spot. The Broncos have dropped into 6th position currently. Next up sees the Sydney Roosters and the Cowboys. I think the Roosters coming into finals, they start to get it right. And I think the Cowboys get a bit of a wake-up call, and I'm going to go the Roosters there at 13+. Next up sees the West Tigers and the Sharks. And the Sharks fighting for a top 4 spot. I'm going to go Cronulla to get that top 4 spot at this point with an 8 to 10 point victory. Suncorp Stadium, you've got the Brisbane Broncos and the Newcastle Knights. I think the Broncos can win and win well. I'm going to go Broncos by 24 against the Knights. They've had a few decent wins over the course of the season at this point, but I think the Broncos, they want a final spot and they're fighting for it real hard. Next up sees the Raiders and the Dragons, and I'll tell you what, I've got the Dragons winning next week, but in Canberra, I can't go past the Raiders. I just want to have a look where I've got if the Dragons are still within touch of the top 8. They are. They're only 1 win outside the 8, but just unfortunately, they're getting a tough draw, in my opinion. Next up sees the Titans and the Sea Eagle. This game is at the Titans' home ground, but look, I can't go past the Manly Sea Eagles here. I think Manly will be a bit too good for the Gold Coast Titans, so we go Manly there in the final game of that round. 3 rounds to go, current top 8. Panthers, Storm, Cowboys, Sharks, Eels, Broncos, Roosters, Manly, and sitting outside the 8. Well, I'll tell you what, you've got the Canberra Raiders and the South Sydney Rabbitohs both battling it out for a spot, as well as the St. George Illawarra Dragons. So you've got the Rabbitohs and the Panthers. Now, was it the week before this, or was it? I'm going to go Panthers to lose back-to-back games here. I reckon the Rabbitohs will beat Penrith. I really do. I reckon the Rabbitohs will beat Penrith on the Thursday, the 18th of August. Circle the calendar. Penrith to lose back-to-back. Are they the only losses of the season? We'll have to wait and see. But I reckon the Rabbitohs will cause a bit of an upset there, and I reckon they'll beat the Panthers. That'll put them into 8th position too. You got the North Queensland Cowboys versus the New Zealand Warriors. This game is at North Queensland, and I'm going to go the Cowboys here. They really do look like a top 4 team based on this prediction as well. We've got the Broncos and the Melbourne Storm here. The Broncos played really good against the Storm at Amy Park. They're going to get all their big guns back up against Melbourne Storm. It's going to be tough. Just for the sake of it, man, I'm going to go Broncos here. I'm going to go Brisbane. I'm going to go Brisbane against Melbourne. I just think they played pretty good. I think they played pretty good at Amy Park, and I think they can get the job done at home. Next up sees the Parramatta Eels up against the Bulldogs. We will want revenge. It will be tough revenge, though, so I go Eel 1 to 12. And look, these Broncos and Eels, man, fighting against the Cronulla Sharks for a top 4 spot. It really is really tight. Speaking of the Sharks face the Manly Sea Eagles at 4 Pines Park. I'm going to go Cronulla. I think they've proven more this year, fighting for that top 4 spot as well. Sydney Roosters and the Tigers. So what, the Roosters have gone from 10th into 7th, and they look more likely each week to play finals footy. Close game, but I'll go the Roosters there. You've got the Dragons versus the Titans. I'm going to go the Dragons to win this game 13+. It's at Wollongong. A big win in front of their home crowd, pushing the Titans back towards the bottom of the ladder. But there's still one more win than the Tigers. In regards to the wooden spoon, And then you got the Newcastle Knights up against the Raiders. The Knights were unlucky to lose to the Raiders last week, but the Raiders got the win with Hudson Young. And look, I think in Newcastle might be a pick'em game, but I'm going to go Canberra fighting towards that top 8, and I think 10-12 is a fair margin as we move into the final 2 rounds of NRL and get into my ladder predictor as well as final series. So you look at that, 2 games separate the Penrith Panthers and the Melbourne Storm. You got the Broncos and the Eels. This game is at Suncorp, and I am going to go with Brisbane here. I think the Broncos will win against the Eels both at... we have a great record at Suncorp, though. No, I'm going to go the Broncos. I'm going to go the Broncos to win that game. I think they'll be too good for the Eels at home as well as away from home. So the Broncos to beat us both times, in my opinion. Then you got the Panthers and the Warriors. Look, Penrith, they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back convincingly. Penrith by 30. Then you got the Melbourne Storm up against the Sydney Roosters. The Roosters, they've been in some quite good form, gotten themselves back in the top 8 reach. I'm going to go Melbourne Storm to win, 13 plus at Amy Park. They should be too good for the Roosters. Next up sees the Raiders and the Sea Eagle. Being in Canberra, I'll go Canberra, which puts Canberra from 10th into 8th position. This ladder is heating up. Go Raiders by 8. And next up sees the Cronulla Sharks up against the Canterbury Bulldogs. I'll go the Sharks, but I reckon this will be tight. I reckon this will be a tight game. The Cronulla Sharks move into 3rd position on the NRL ladder, but remember that the Cowboys are yet to play. All right, next up, we've got the South Sydney Rabbitohs fighting for a top 8 spot up against the Cowboys. The Cowboys just don't play well away from home. The Rabbitohs inconsistent, heading into finals. Oh, man. The Rabbitohs win this. They move into 8th position. No, they don't. Actually, no, they don't. The Roosters and the Raiders need a lot to go against them to drop out. Let's have a look. Rabbits win. They move into 8th. Cowboys win. They move into 3rd. I'm going to go the Rabbits here. I think the Rabbits have a lot to play for. I think the Rabbits have a lot more to play for than the Cowboys in regards to finals versus top 4. They've been pretty inconsistent all year. And I think beating the Cowboys will kind of show that this team can cause some damage coming into finals, just like last year. G'day, National Sports Loaded. Broncos, Eels, and Sharks will finish 4th, 5th, and 6th. Let's wait and see. Next up, you got the Tigers and the Dragons at Bank West. I think the Dragons win by about 20 here. I think they win and win well. Next up, the Titans and Newcastle Knights. I will go with the Titans to win this game. Titans move from 15th into 13th position. I'll go the Titans by 2. We are now into the final round of NRL. We are in the final round. So we have the Penrith Panthers with 20 wins and 3 losses. The Melbourne Storm with 18 wins and 5 losses. We have the Cronulla Sharks with 16 and 7, but they have a better scoring, it looks like, than the Cowboys, who are in 4th. Brisbane Broncos in 5th with 15 and 8. In 6th is the Parramatta Eels with 15 and 8. And then the Sydney Roosters in 7th position. The South Sydney Rabbitohs are in 8th. This is getting intense. All right. Parramatta in 6th up against the Melbourne Storm. Man, who do I tip? I think we're going to rest a lot of our players. I think we've got a lot of players that can come in and do the job. So have Melbourne, though. I'm going to go Melbourne here. I'm going to go Melbourne. I know it's at Bank West. I just think Melbourne will probably keep a few of their bigger name players than we will. I think we're going to need everyone coming into that elimination final. We've already secured a spot in the NRL 2022 finals based on this predictor. Let's have a look. Bulldogs and Manly. The Bulldogs in 15th. Can the Bulldogs still get the wooden spoon? They still can. They absolutely still can. This is a tough game. I'm going to go Manly. I'm going to go Manly here. I'm going to go Manly in a very tight game. Puts them into 9th position. I'm going to go Manly Seagulls in 9th at this point. Next up sees the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. The Roosters are in 7th. They play the Rabbitohs battling for a top 8 spot. And you know what? I think the Roosters win well. This is the opening of Allianz, their new football stadium. The Roosters 13 plus. Next up sees the Warriors playing against the Titans. The Warriors in 14th, the Titans in 13th. One of these teams will rise. One of them will probably fall. I reckon the Gold Coast win this game. I think the Titans win. That puts them up to 12th. That puts them out of the bottom 4 at this point in the season. I'll go the Titans by 4. Pushes the Warriors into 14th. At least they don't finish with the spoon. Next up sees the Dragons and the Broncos. Look, I think at Cogra, I think I'm going to tip the Dragons here. I think the Dragons win. Puts the St. George Illawarra Dragons into 8th position. A little bit weird how the Rabbits are in 24 but in 9th. But anyway, it puts them into 8th position. The Penrith Panthers and the Cowboys. Now, look, there's a 1-game difference between... Wow, there is a 1-game difference separating the minor premiership. The Panthers will probably rest all their players. They've got a lot of players who can come in. I don't know about the Cowboys young'uns. The Cowboys at home, they won't be kept to nil, but I think Penrith beat them. I think Penrith will beat them. I think Penrith will be too good for the Cowboys in the final round of the season. And then you got the Newcastle Knights up against the Sharks. Look, Newcastle at home, I think they'll finish the season strong. So I'll go Newcastle by 6 to 8 points there. The Cronulla Sharks still sitting in 3rd position. And I'll tell you what, do the Raiders make the 8 if they win? I think they do. If the Raiders beat the Tigers, it puts them in the top 8. This game is at Leichhardt Oval. I'm going to go Canberra. I'm going to go Canberra here. I'm going to go the Raiders. I think the Raiders can win. I'm going to go Raiders by 4 to 6. I think the final game of the season could be pretty close. And that actually decides this year's NRL finals. So, let's take a look at finals week 1. Look at this. The top 8 leading into a grand final. Wow. The poor St. George Illawarra Dragons sitting in 9th position. The South Sydney Rabbitohs missed the 8. I think it could happen. The ladder is looking broken. NRL.exe stop working. Well, here we go. We've got it now. Wow. Look at the gap between 10th and, 11th. 11th and 13th. Or where's 12th? 11th and 12th. There's still 4 or 5 games separating them. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. You got the Penrith Panthers up against the Cronulla Sharks. I like the Panthers here. I think the Panthers can win. I'll go the Penrith Panthers to win that game. Then you got an elimination final at Suncorp Stadium between the Brisbane Broncos and the Raiders. The Raiders, they have gone from a team that can't score points in the second half and leading at the first half, losing, to winning some games this year and playing finals footy. But I think a full-strength Broncos side beat that Raiders, so I'm going to go Brisbane there. And then you got Parramatta Eels at home against the Sydney Roosters in the finals. Both 1-1 throughout this year. We beat them by 10. We lost by 7. I think at home in a final too, I think we do beat the Roosters, which is huge to consider the Roosters finishing in 7th and bowing out. And the Cowboys up against the Storm at Amy Park. This is a qualifying final. This would be huge if the Cowboys do get through. Call me crazy. I'm going to tip the Cowboys. I'm going to tip the Cowboys in week 1 of the finals to do what the Rabbitohs did to the Penrith Panthers, potentially booking themselves a grand final spot, getting into a prelim. The North Queensland Cowboys, the team I predicted wouldn't spoon, finishing in the bottom 4, potentially sending Melbourne into Melbourne against the Parramatta Eels. Now, Melbourne Storm in 2nd, Parramatta are in 6th. And Parramatta, for mine, can beat Melbourne. I think on our day, we can beat any side. So first off there, I'm going to go Parramatta, non-biased there. In week 2 of the finals, bit of a rematch to 2019. And I think the Eels win. And then you see the Brisbane Broncos up against the Cronulla Sharks. It's a tough game. The Broncos won earlier in the year. The Sharks have shown a lot of consistent footy. 2 teams that didn't play finals last year in the top 8. I'm going to go the Sharks here. I'm sorry, Broncos fans. The Brisbane Broncos have had an outstanding season, but I'm predicting the Cowboys to finish the top of the Queensland teams. I feel bad. The Broncos, they're so good to watch. Young guns. They've got some old dogs in there mixed as well. But I think that the Cowboys finish higher than the Broncos. It puts a double header for finals week 3. A rematch between the Penrith Panthers and the Parramatta Eels. I hate the Panthers, but I think Parramatta bow out. I think Parramatta bow out in the prelim. I'd love to say we make it. I'd love to say Parramatta make the grand final, win the grand final, break the duck. But I think we fall one short once again in week 3 in a prelim this year. And then you got the Cowboys, the surprise packet of the year, in 4th position, going up against the Cronulla Sharks. The Sharks, Finucane, Hines, plenty of new buys doing their job, playing some great footy. And then the Cowboys, the surprise packet, led by Drinkwater, Holmes, Dearden, Townsend. And I'm going to give this one to the Cowboys. I'm going to give this game to the Cowboys, which means that my NRL 2022 grand final is the Penrith Panthers and the North Queensland Cowboys. Who would have thought that the team I predicted to get the wooden spoon would also be the team I predicted to play in the grand final? Crazy. All right, guys, I'm going to tip Penrith. I think Penrith can go back-to-back. I think Penrith drop a few games throughout the season. Another 2 games will be dropped by the Panthers in 2022, at least. Mark my words. I'm going to say 2. 2 more games. Penrith Panthers lose in these final coming rounds, but they're going to have a great season. They're going to be able to back up through Origin. Limited injuries, in my opinion. They're going to finish at the top of the ladder by 2 games, and they're also going to go on to win the premiership against the Cowboys. It's always teams within the top 4, and that's why I've got Parramatta bowing out against the Panthers in week 3. But I hope I'm wrong. I know we can beat them on our day. But that is my ladder, guys. The Canberra Raiders and the Brisbane Broncos being eliminated the Raiders being eliminated in week 1 of the finals, with the Roosters going as well. Week 2 sees the Broncos and the Storm bow out, and then the Eels and the Sharks bow out, leading to a Panthers-Cowboys grand final where the Penrith Panthers are crowned premiers. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me on this live stream. I really do appreciate it. I saw National Sports Loaded say I don't think the Tigers will come last. Well, look, I've got them last. I think I've got them in 16th position with 4 wins and 20 losses. New Zealand Warriors were my wooden spoon coming into this ladder prediction. And I've got them at 6 and 18. I think they've got some winnable games. Just like Newcastle, they move into 12th position, same as the Titans. So the bottom 4, I do have the Titans, the Warriors, the Bulldogs, and Titans, Bulldogs, Warriors, Tigers. Yeah. And then in battles for the 8, you do have the Rabbitohs finishing in 10th, but Dragons, Manly battling for the 8, but it's the Canberra Raiders who come out on top and play finals footy. But there you go, guys. What an awesome stream. Thanks for hanging out. Quite a long one, 35 minutes there. Enjoy State of Origin tonight, guys. Once again, my predictions for State of Origin tonight is Murray Taulagi, first try scorer, and I'm going with man of the match to be Val Holmes or Ponga. Queensland by 10. I hope I'm wrong. I want to go to a decider, but that will be my 150th vlog when I go up to Suncorp for Game 3. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and I will see you guys later.